Hi. Now, in my last video, I said I was going to speak about some of the reactions that have trailed the Riley Moore report on Christian persecution and genocide in Nigeria. Now, there's one particular reaction that got my attention the most. So let's go into it. Let's first of all watch the video, and on the other side, I will dissect what was said in this video.
First of all, I'm one of those Nigerians who is outraged and shocked that Nigeria has virtually handed over our sovereignty to the US entirely and completely. When I saw the document that listed all these activities and actions that some congressmen like Riley Moore are going to take to Trump, demanding outrageous violations and assaults on who we are as a country, our sovereignty, our integrity, our unity, our internal affairs, our security, the way we live. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. This is something Nigeria should condemn without reservation. It appears that this administration has handed over Nigeria to the Americans lock, stock, and barrel. If a team that has come to Nigeria many times, operating under the allegation and the assumption that they are investigating so-called genocide against Christians, can go back, do a lot of work, and then up the ante and go to say to the president who always leans towards a narrow constituency involving the far right of America and some Nigerians who are apparently very powerful as lobbyists in the US to denigrate Nigeria, pitch us against each other, and virtually turn Nigeria into a colony. That's basically what that is.
Okay.
What worries me is what appears to be the indifference of millions and millions of Nigerians who know what Nigeria was and is. There are non-Muslims who think this is a good thing for Nigeria. And there are Muslims who are outraged that even contemplating issues like removing Sharia, blasphemy laws, relocating Fulani people from where they are, virtually amounting to ethnic cleansing. These are things that will worsen inter-community relations in Nigeria. They shouldn't be tolerated, and we should demand that our president says to the Americans openly that there are limits to what this relationship involves. But above all, we want to know exactly what these agreements involve. Have we handed over America? Have we handed over our country, America, completely and totally? We are no more an independent country. America will decide from Washington who lives with who lives where, and which religion should be favored and which one should not be favored. This is a very serious issue, and for me, this is capitulation of the worst order, and President Tinubu has a lot of explaining to do.
So let me break down what Dr. Baba Ahmed said. Okay, let me dissect what he said. He starts by saying he's outraged and shocked that Nigeria has handed over its sovereignty completely to the US. What sovereignty are we talking about? I mean, seriously, the same sovereignty that's already been handed over to terrorists? Is that any better? The same sovereignty that has been trampled upon? The same sovereignty that gives people the route with which to bring in foreigners to displace Nigerians and kick them out of their homes while they occupy? Nigeria is under occupation in many places. So which sovereignty is he actually talking about? He then calls the Riley Moore report on an outrageous violation and assault to who we are as a country. Those are his words. Now, when you say it's a violation and an assault to who we are in the country, notice he keeps saying we. He doesn't really mean we, he means them. Who is we? He mentions sovereignty, unity, integrity, and internal affairs and the way we live. The way who lives? Our way of life is being disrupted by your people, my friend. Now, he says this is something Nigerians should condemn without reservation. But what about condemning terrorism? I have seen this man on a couple of occasions on this same channel. I remember I saw him a few months ago, late last year, and he was trying to make a point at a certain point, and he was listing terrorist groups in Nigeria. He said Boko Haram, he said Lakurawa, and then he said IPOB. Yeah, wait a minute, IPOB. Has IPOB ever, when's the last time, have you ever heard IPOB blow up a building in Abuja, for instance? Is IPOB kidnapping people all over the country? No. IPOB are separatists. They've made it very clear. They're saying we want to govern ourselves. Yeah, that's treason, but they're definitely not terrorists the same way the Fulani militia are. So he mentioned that, and now here's the part that really struck me. He failed to mention any of these Fulani militia groups. So to him, those are not terrorists. Now, he went further to say that a team came to Nigeria under the guise of investigating so called genocide against Christians. Notice how he calls it so called, because to him, that's not a real thing. To him, those are fairy tales. It's Grimm's fairy tales as far as he's concerned. It's just a fable that people have made up. He was, if I remember, he was one of the first people to come out and deny the Christian genocide. He went further to say they upped the ante. In other words, they lied and exaggerated. That is the same thing, really, and handed over a report to a president, referring to Trump, who always leans to the far right as if as if he's not doing the same thing. He's leaning to one side also, exactly the same thing. Now he then mentions some Nigerians that are very powerful, how they're being in on it as lobbyists. Yeah, right. And he's not referring to the ones that our government spent $9 million on. But does he not also belong to a group of very powerful Nigerians, if not the most powerful group of Nigerians? He goes further to say they aim to denigrate Nigeria and put us against each other. His people are already doing that. Now, let me tell you what happened in the past week or so in Plateau. There were a few killings in Barkin Ladi of Fulani people. Now, if you know, Fulani people have been exterminating the Birom people for a greater part of the last 2 decades, really. So this time around, a few of them were killed. Not a good thing. I don't support that. But now, Birom leaders have come out to say that they weren't the ones, that it was Fulanis who killed their own Fulani people while speaking Birom to make it seem like they did it. And now what they've done is they've gone and they've instigated the Hausa community to rise up and fight against the Biroms. If that's not pitting Nigerians against one another, I don't know what is. Then he went further to say they want to turn Nigeria into a colony. Well, his people are already trying to turn it into a cattle colony, aren't they? Or a caliphate, whichever one comes first. One is basically an excuse for the other. Now, he says they're worried by the indifference of, that he's worried about the indifference of millions of Nigerians who know what Nigeria is and was. Yes, we do, and that's why we want it back. They're not indifferent. They're tired. Tired of being killed and kidnapped. Tired of being taken out. Tired of not being able to go to their farms. Tired of being attacked in places of worships. Tired of their villages being taken over and renamed by foreigners. That's what they're tired of. Then he talks about how certain non-Muslims who think it's a good thing for Nigeria, well, it is, because The Nigerian government is not doing anything about it. So if somebody else comes to help, we're going to take all the help we get. So, um, and I think right there he has drawn a line in the sand because it shows that he's comfortable with all the terrorism, partially because he's a Muslim. Non Muslims think it's a good thing for obvious reasons, really. Then he goes further to speak about how there are Muslims who are outraged that it's even being contemplated that Sharia and blasphemy laws be expunged from our legal system. Now, to him, it's okay for us to have laws in a multi religious country that prevent you from saying anything about a particular religion. And if you do, you can be legally held liable. Dr. Baba Ahmed is comfortable with that, apparently. Now, here's the part that got me the most. If it wasn't such a serious thing, I would say this is a laughing matter. He says they want to relocate Fulani people from where they are, and that amounts to ethnic cleansing. Can you believe that? As if the places being referred to are their homes, as if they didn't forcefully take these places from people who are currently languishing in IDP camps, as if they didn't kill, rape, kidnap, and do all kinds of horrible things to get to those places in the first place, as if their rights are being violated because the Americans are saying the land should be given back to the owners and the people be returned to their homes. As far as this man's concerned, the terrorists should keep all the land they've confiscated. That's what he means by that. Now he then whines again and about how the country has been handed over to the Americans and how the Americans shouldn't decide who lives where and what religion is favored. Should the terrorists be the ones to decide who lives where? Instead, he's playing the religious card right there by saying a particular religion is being favored here, but he has no problem when his own religion wants to impose their laws on the country. His religion, by the way, is favored in the 1999 Constitution, and he has never complained about that. He goes further to call it capitulation of the highest order. In other words, an unwelcome demand, but unwelcome for who? Who's it unwelcome for? He ends by saying that Tinubu has a lot of explaining to do. Now, what I got from Baba Ahmed's diatribe is that he is a tribal and religious supremacist who sees nothing wrong with the Fulani taking over land from other people and claiming it as theirs. He's really no different from the guys on motorcycles with AK 47s. It's just that he's more educated, but don't let that fool you. Who do you think gives the terrorists the power and the audacity to operate with such impunity in the first place? It's people like him. Everything he accused the Americans of wanting to do, his people, the Fulani, are already doing. This is not a case of the boy crying wolf. It's a case where the boy cried wolf, the wolf came, and the wolf looked behind him, and there was a lion coming, and now the wolf is crying lion. In this case, that lion just might be a necessary evil.